Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Simply Raw Interviews, which I've been doing for the Raw Food Vet Society for nearly a year now. Can't believe that's a long time. And a huge welcome to Dr. Nick Thompson, Dr. Brendan Clark, Dr. Connor Brady, who are the dynamic trio of the Raw Pet Medics. Thanks, guys, so much for taking the time out of your very busy day, as I know you all are, to have a chat with me and spread the word of whatever we do in our raw world.
Delighted.
So yeah,
It's
I
great
thought
to be here, Moddy.
Oh well, no, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you
thanks,
very
Molly.
much. So I thought we'd have a chat about three things. What would you stop? What would you start? And what would you continue with what you've been doing this year, and highlights of what's been going on this year. So I don't know who wants to start. Pick a number.
Who would like to start? Gentlemen, age before beauty. That's clearly
All right.
shit before the
The
show.
man in the
You pick one.
middle.
Okay. Well, so what would I like to start? I would like to start having more conversations with our lovely Patreon people. We've got hundreds of people who support us through Patreon, and so my thought would be I'd like to talk to them more. The other thing that I'd love to start would be to restart some of the studies. We tried to get this started about a year ago or so. We were doing research on laboratories. We were going to send some food to laboratories in order to get it analyzed and see what came out of that. So guys, you can hold me to that. I would like to, even if we just measure trans fats in kibble, say just one figure with 10 random dried foods, I think that would be interesting. Is it science? It's not great science. Is it good observation? Yes, it absolutely is. Will it be fascinating? Yes, it absolutely will be. Whether they come out 10 out of 10 or 0 out of 10, I think there's going to be a lot to be said there. Anybody? Bren?
Do you know,
Connor,
I think
What
are your thoughts?
Yeah. What would you start? Then we can go backwards.
You see, this is something that I'm really excited about. And this is actually a little bit of a cheat. And thank you, Nikki Kamak. I will say thank you to you. I think laying down the challenge, I was talking to Nick about this just before we came on this evening, of actually challenging companies to not just do the nutritionals, but actually publish their nutritionals on what they're putting out, not the diet formulator, what they think they're putting in, but actually do the nutritionals and publish what they're putting out. I think that will be a challenge. And to be fair, it'll be a challenge to the raw communities out there. But I think it's something, that, we can stand up and say that's the gold standard. That is marketing gold for all of those that can do it. But I think it's really something we should be doing. And then we can truly, from the high ground, reflect to all of those kibble companies that still don't do it, even with their multi-million, even billion-pound companies across the world, are still not doing, to say exactly what the output is from their foods.
And I guess that relates to RawSafe, Bren, as well, isn't it?
So that's the next step that RawSafe was looking at after we went through the safety of the companies producing. It was then the safety of the people reselling foods, so that they can honestly handle the food and pass them on to clients safely, and making sure that all of that chain of safety is dealt with. But absolutely, it was something that myself and Nick and some of the other guys who were right at the beginning, the genesis of RawSafe, were talking about being one of the factors. It's the hardest one probably to get across the line because so few people were willing to publish it and do it. And there's so many small companies out there that will say it's too costly. But I think if we're doing the right thing, if you're claiming that it's a complete diet, it's something you should be willing to put out there. Even if you're not claiming it's a complete diet, I think having a nutritional output of what's in it helps those clients to understand what they might need to bring in their variety to make sure that the dogs are at least getting exposed to a level of, whether it be vitamin D or whether it be vitamin K or whether it be certain levels of essential amino acids that they suddenly may realize were lacking in the diet, that won't show up for months. It will take months for some of those nutritional deficits to show up. But we are seeing clients now that it's becoming more popular that are not necessarily understanding that they need to give variety. So they are coming along thinking they're feeding raw, but yet they're feeding minces that may be just chicken and turkey and that's it, but no organs, no bone, but just purely the meat. I'm thinking, I'm feeding raw.
Yeah, totally.
Surely that's all I need to do. But yet they're not realizing all of the other things that are required within that diet.
And what is complete?
Yeah.
So what do you reckon then, Connor?
Well, we're sticking with what are we going to stop and start for RPM? I think so. In keeping with that buzz, what Bren is saying there, like the currently pet food companies only have to guarantee that this is what they assume is the nutrient content of the mix. That's all they have to do. An Excel spreadsheet of the minerals they assume goes in. They don't account for the 4 or 5 cooking steps, or the processing, the storage, how long the bag is open for, clashing the nutrients, on and on and on. None of that is accounted for by the time your dog gets to eat this food. So the way Tixton got around this as a gem in relation to Fiona Murray there, her question, how to incentivize them to do this, I don't think they're going to willingly do that, because the answers are terrible. When these foods are assessed by anybody, the answers are never good. And no company is going to willingly hold themselves up and say, oh my God, look how shit our food is. So the way Susan Tixton got around that was that she went on to the equivalent of Zoo Plus, or one of these huge groups that have all the dry foods, and they order the top 12 selling dry foods and they sent them straight to the lab. And so they didn't touch them. And so that removes you from the process. It's called the Pet Food Test Results. Check it out online. It's about 5 or 6 years old now. Wow. She tested for mycology, hazardous microbes and something else. And the results were just pure dire on nutritional status. So 3 big pillars. And the results were dire across the board. I mean, even the urinary care one had something like 7% calcium in it. The maximum you're allowed to have is 1.5 for urinary care. And so
added salt, I think, probably.
It was just, it was like the worst possible thing. Added calcium carbonate because there's so much meat meal in it, bone meal. So, that test, I'm sticking with the guys there at that. I think that would be a fabulous thing. I'm piggybacking on what they say. What I was going to say is it's not really a star thing, but I would definitely like to be a #1 podcast. I'm greedy for that now. We had some results that came in recently, and we actually have way more followers listening than we do watching. And I kind of thought it's so cool to have a few hundred people, like to have them at the same time. It's not a great time for some areas, but they are there. We have people from the States and people. And it's like, this is cool, but the podcasting is really taking off. And it's a bit of a buzz to see these rankings, like #2 in Trinidad and Tobago in pets and animals. It's like, oh, okay. I said to my wife the other day, she goes, is this you? It was like she shared, Elaine showed me a post from Nick. She said, is this your podcast? When are you doing a podcast? I said, what do you think I'm doing every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock? I'm asking you to keep the kids quiet. What do you think that is? And she goes, I thought it was video stuff. So I would love that to be #1 in a science category. So that would be that's a start. Yeah.
Okay.
So what she was thinking was that you were actually just joining us for a drink and a bit of a chat and a laugh, and avoiding childcare. Yeah, and what she's now suddenly realised is that you are actually thinking and doing some work.
I'm
it's not a cup of tea.
Oh, yeah.
My thought, boys and girls, my thought there would be that was just the Apple podcasts. So what would be really interesting, and I'm sure that Acast is kind of the overall thing. I'm sure if we look on Acast, we will be able to see where we rank for science or where we rank for nutrition. I think that would be really interesting.
That'd be cool.
So
to get
maybe something to do.
The science category would be one to top, because it's easy enough to top the dogs category. I mean, we're #2 in Ireland. I said to Elaine, she goes, #2 in Ireland. I said, in the dogs category. And she was like, oh, that's so disappointing.
You guys have only been doing this, 2 years?
Yeah, the podcast
Nearly
has only
2
been
years,
going out
isn't it?
maybe half a year properly, like reliably. The last year, maybe the last 3/4 of a year. It's only
It's
been going.
April, was it not April? We kicked
Yeah,
off on the
around
actual
that.
podcast,
And we haven't been
Yeah,
pushing
yeah.
it. We haven't, and the sound still is odd. It's not crystal clear because we're in 3 different places, and no recording equipment likes that. But you need to spend a bit to get things, homogenized, and that's the next step really for us. So that's a start thing. Get that sorted out in the first quarter of next year. That's what I'd like.
Well, you've got what, 17,000 followers or something, I think.
Yeah.
Have we?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We-
Yeah.
It's famous, guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nick.
Wow,
It's great.
You could tell
Your
who looks at
head's
the figures.
exploding.
It's great to know.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, then. So what about what would you stop? Well, I probably know the answer to that.
Bren, do you want to go first?
No, you're the youngest boy.
I'm
so
going
you can
to-
go
yeah.
first.
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
A stop is just a bit of information that I came across recently, and this is really the only one that I could think now of the last 5 minutes that I would mean. This is something I mean. It was this book that Bren put me on to, Toxic, as always. Once somebody recommends a book 2 or 3 or 4 times in a row, you realize, oh, I have to listen to this. And a piece of information came to me that I'm now instantly employing, and I'm going to stop recommending all my supplements go in instantly at the required dose, because this guy is really pushing this Herx effect. And what he's saying is, if your dog has this mad yeast condition, and as a lot of dogs with dysbiosis will have this intense itch, and if you don't rectify it with going through your exclusion diet, it's most likely a bit of a yeast issue. It doesn't cost you anything just to put in a little bit of a yeast zapping step to see if it helps, and it often does. The problem is I would just pile the stuff in and say, okay, we're going to take cellulase and a bit of garlic and olive leaf and a couple of things that yeast don't like. But the problem is I would just dump them in there. And then, as this book explains, this thing that's making you intensely itchy, you kill lots of them and they all release their toxins at the same time and you get really sick. And that sends the patient or the client with the pet back to the vet. And the vet goes, I told you not to be messing around with the dark arts. Look how sick your dog is. And then it's like, no, it made my dog sick. So the really gradual introduction of anything from probiotics, somebody I just talked to 2 days ago, really convinced me that probiotics can turn your gut. If your gut's not right, it didn't welcome what it just had, probiotics are different, whatever. So easing on, particularly with gut sick dogs, just easing in there with the that's a new thing to me. I'm going to stop lashing in my supplements. I'm already keeping it very simple with the additions. So if that didn't work, I'll try something else. But I'm going to stop now recommending this is the dose, put it into your dog. Now it's like gradually increase that one onto the herbs, gradually increase that onto the omega-3, gradually increase that. So I'm going to stop lashing in my ingredients. There you go.
Cool.
He's going to stop lashing. Marvelous.
Lashing, yeah.
Bren, you're next.
Sorry,
I'm Moddy. I'm taking over.
That's all right,
here.
I'm used to it,
Keep
Nick.
on, I keep on thinking this is Raw Pet Medics, but actually it's your show, so you choose who goes next.
I don't
Ignore me.
mind. I don't mind. Whoever wants to go. I'm just fascinated. I thought it was quite an interesting subject.
Yeah, I think what to stop? I think I hate stopping
Feeding kibble?
stuff. Do you know? Stop that ages ago. What are you talking about? I really think that was do you know, I would say I think I need to stop saying yes to so many people. I think, that it becomes a bit overwhelming, doesn't it, when you do what we do and you get invited left, right, and center. And these boys are worse than I am, because some people will say, why is it that Connor and Nick are on all of these interviews and things like that? And the difference is because they say yes to everybody. And I'm going, I don't even have time sometimes to reply to their emails, let alone say yes to
You've
them.
got a clinic.
So
You've got a clinic to run.
exactly.
No, that's the difference.
So I'm
hours
just
working.
sort of like, so do you know what? It's probably that I will cut back a little bit on the saying yes to
Maybe say yes
so
to the
many
things you
people.
can commit to and do well. And
Yeah,
we all
so,
want to make a
you know,
difference, don't we?
We do. I mean, look, that is the overwhelming drive that all three of us have, is to make a difference to the health of the pets that we talk about. And we do so want to be out there. And in order to make that difference, we need to be out there in front of people saying what we say and researching what we do and really passing that information on.
Plant the seed.
But from the flip side, we don't want to wear ourselves into the ground so that we can't be here in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years time. And continuing to develop ideas, continuing to furnish the general public with those ideas so that they can improve the life of their pets. And so I think we've got to streamline a little bit on what we say yes to. And I'm sorry, guys, that might mean that we're not going to, all three of us, be stood up in front of 100 people every week doing something. We're going to wait for the bigger occasions that we can just get more people together and do them slightly less frequently so that we can continue to do the great work that we're doing, all three of us. It's not just about me.
That's a great idea, and saying yes, absolutely. I had a phone call today from a lady, I bought that beef for you, Nick, who rang me because I planted the seed about raw last week, and she rang me up this morning and said, my dog's itching. What food do I feed? And instantly, if it's one a week, one a month, that's a yes is a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's your turn now, Nick.
Okay. Just bouncing off Brent's good thoughts there. Tim Ferriss had a guest on a couple of years ago. I was very taken with Tim Ferriss back in the day, except for the fact he feeds. So he's all about food and productivity and biohacking and all this stuff.
Personal kind of.
It's how can I be the best person I can possibly be?
Better,
and yet he feeds his dog on kibble. And he makes it right in his head. I know, Molly is the dog, and he feeds the dog on kibble. I'm thinking, Tim, I'll tell you what, there's something to try and stop in 2023. We have to, by next December, stop Tim Ferriss feeding his dog,
Kibble.
Molly, on kibble.
Save Ferriss. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like you had
Dave
Davinia
Ferris.
Taylor, you had Davinia on Georgia, didn't you, a year or so ago?
Yeah.
And she now feeds raw.
Yeah, good girl that she
Get
is.
Tim Ferriss on RPM there, guys.
Oof,
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good
That'd be a
thought.
good one because
Yeah.
piggyback on his millions.
And make his dog healthy, Connor.
Sorry,
Make his dog healthy.
you make his dog healthy. It's just like
Well, no, if he changes, if he gets rid of,
Let's examine the cognitive dissonance that makes you think, you're all over your own nutrition and you preach about it so much, and yet look what you're feeding to the dog. It'd be so interesting to pick that apart in its head and watch him kind of not fall apart live on stage, but it'd be nice if we didn't tell him what he was coming on for. Yeah, but it'd be nice just to pick apart the thought process of someone that really understands nutrition. I'm not going to say it actually. No, it doesn't matter. I had a really good idea. I'm going to say it. I had a good idea. Wouldn't it be great? Okay, as a simple video. Somebody else do this because I'm not going to do it. I probably might. You get kibble and you go up to 5 human nutritionists and say, I've invented complete human food, and plonk it in front of them. Book them for half an hour, pay them their 80-100 quid or whatever they want, because locally there's about 3 or 4 human nutritionists locally, and say, I've made complete human food. What's your opinion? And they'll go, what? So tell me, ask me anything you want about my complete human food. And they'll say, well, and then they'll just go through all the questions and film it. And we asked 5 human nutritionists that what they thought about this. Isn't that a good idea? I thought
Genius.
New t-shirt.
Boom. There you go. I'm just too neat to book them in. That's all. But,
This is about what we're supposed to be stopping, not what we were supposed to be starting.
So as I was saying, Tim Ferriss, generally a really good lad and a deep thinker and what have you. But he had a guy on a couple of years ago, maybe even 3 years ago now, called Derek Sievers, I think. And he's one of these guys who just like bounces into the room, and he is just electric. And he was worth, I don't know, $50 million by the time he was 25. Or he's just, this guy makes things happen. And he has come to the conclusion that so when you're presented with any option, somebody says, oh yeah, I've got this amazing business idea. What do you think? It's either hell yeah or no.
Yeah.
You either grasp it by the balls
Yeah.
or you just say, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm absolutely too busy. So it either absolutely turns you on, or nope, I'm just not
Not
going to
for
go
me.
there at
Has
all.
to
It's
wag
like,
your
no,
tail.
it's quite a good idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, well, yeah, let's talk about that. It's like, no, move on. So there you
Yeah.
go, Bren. I think it's a brilliant concept. Hell yeah, or
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, it has to wag your tail. Has to wag your tail good and proper. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what would I stop? I think stopping the changing food every single day. I think that would be something that I would like to stop. I think that humans for millions of years has just eaten the same old thing day after day after day, depending on the season, perhaps. Yeah, back in the good old days when we were in caves and all that kind of thing. But animals definitely will eat seasonally, as supermarkets tell you to do, and nobody ever does. But I think some kind of seasonal approach to feeding is a good idea. And I'm not saying you just feed rabbit in the spring and you feed, I don't know, cattle in the autumn, and you don't feed very much of anything in the winter in order to get that kind of that sparsity effect. That's an extreme. But I'm thinking to move or to try and educate towards less variety and a slightly more monotony, I think would be a good idea, bearing in mind that the mantra that we all subscribe to is variety is king. There's a good t-shirt, guys. Variety is king.
Yeah.
I'm sure Fiona's making a note of it.
Yeah,
I'm
Fiona's
sure she is.
Fiona's always
She'd
there.
preempted that, and she'd already said love that idea. So she's
that was my idea she was talking about.
No, it wasn't. It was my idea.
whatever.
That was my idea she was talking about.
No,
it wasn't. It was.
No. Sorry. So there you go. That's what I would
Okay.
try and stop.
Okay.
Stop that direction and move more towards a week of this and then a week of that and then a week of the other. I think that there's value in that. So there you go.
Brilliant, like that. Okay, so Conan, your last, well, maybe might not be your last question. I don't know yet, but I mean, it's an easy one in so many ways. But what would you continue?
Are we talking about RPM or are we just talking about in general?
I think pretty much in general.
In general.
I mean, you guys are RPM,
continue?
but you can. No, I think in what you do as a nutritionist and your whatever.
I would. I've got my 3-year plan on the wall right behind this laptop, and so yeah, like I know exactly what I would like to continue. I want to continue. I want to get back to researching. I want to get back to digging stuff up and finding nuggets. I want to get back to writing, which I really enjoy. Get back to doing my online stuff. Doing courses and things like that. That's what I see the future for Dogs First for the next year or two. And so I want to do that now kind of full. I've been messing around. I had to move where the supplements are being made, and that was quite stressful. And there's been a number of things happening this year that made it very, very busy and messy. And there's like 5 balls in the air, and there's only 2 or 3 I want to catch. And so I kind of see myself going back. What I really love is researching. I'd sit here till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning with the bit between my teeth, just thinking about one subject. And I love that. And I love finishing with like 1,500 concise words on that subject. And nobody reads them ever, but maybe now as you start to get a bit more of a following, they will, so that's the dream. I would like to do that. That's what I'd like to, yeah. I'm getting close to that. I feel very spread out at the moment, that there's a lot of things happening. So I love RPM. I find that a bit of a release and a few things like that. But then there's other things that you have to do. And then as time goes on and things get a bit easier, you don't have to do the bits you don't want to do. So yeah, I just want to hone into
another book then.
I don't know, maybe. I don't know. I'm not totally against it. I was talking to Habib there and he's doing a second one. And I thought, well, bloody hell, if you're going to do one, I can't not
You
do
said
one.
never again.
Yeah, never.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Brady, you whinged so much in that last year.
I didn't read a book. I didn't read a book for 2 years after that. I didn't read anything. I nearly died. I'm not messing. It was just
Look at its wonderful success.
Just can't imagine. So all of a sudden now I'm worried that next year I'm going to start receiving WhatsApps at 2 a.m. and having to reply to them.
Yeah, Bren, what do you
Connor,
think about?
don't do that.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a wishy-washy answer, but I'm going to continue doing the things I really like. I'm focused now, and I have my little foundation right. I have the website right. I'd have to redo that. That was cost a fortune over the last year and a half. So I feel like I kind of have my duckies in a row, and there's things, the little supplements are bedded in, and you know the book is doing okay, and have these but there's a few things I really enjoy doing, and I wish I could just do them all the time. So wouldn't it be great if that was the case? So yeah, doing stuff in a
Got
bit
to
of
enjoy what you do.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Really
just
important.
doing that, and as kind of the same as Bren's point, doing less of the stuff. Start saying no to the things I don't really want to have to do that all the time. But yeah, bit of a wishy-washy answer, but I know exactly what I want to do. But it's a three-pronged approach, and hopefully by this time next year, it's ticking along, and I'm just doing my little research, and oh, look what I found. You know, that's what I want to do.
Fantastic. Brendan, what about you?
To continue to do you know what
Saying no.
yeah, well, I think the thing that I need to continue to do, and I was thinking about this with the boys, and just saying, do you know what, I could do less of being in clinic and running a clinic, and there's lots of other admin bits within that and things that I keep getting asked to do that but the one thing I really enjoy doing is talking to clients. For a lot of people, they go, oh, clients, oh no, people drive you nuts, but I love that relationship. To just grow through with them that relationship of their pet. So this isn't just seeing people as a one-off and hello, goodbye, here you go, that's done. It's actually, you become part of their lives. You become that relationship where you're seeing the puppy grow and go through the years. I had a really heartening conversation today. One of my vets is ill, and I was covering off her appointments, and a lady came in that I'd seen 20 years ago with various pets and seen for quite some time. And to see her elderly dog that I remember seeing as a puppy, in the clinic, and having a conversation about where they were at with health, and even though it was saddest of times, and talking about some of the end of life things that may be coming on the horizon for them and stuff like that, but just reminiscing about the great times they've had with that puppy, and the life through that of that dog, and being able to keep doing that with clients, I think has to be something I want to continue doing. And it's actually, we're seeing that we're almost developing those relationships with our followers on RPM. They see them each week in, week out. We answer their questions. We, have that relationship. So sort of moving on to the greater populace, and it's great to sort of grow with them through this journey of raw food feeding and holistic health. But I think, I would really miss that if I didn't continue to do it.
And that's a trust issue that you build over, as you just said, 20 years. And it's amazing to have gone back. That.
Yeah. There you go. Nick, you're on.
Okay, so what would I continue? I've done a couple of videos. I've done one on raw food made simple. It's a very simple video that you can find on the website, and it's basically 10 really short lessons about the basics of raw food, the basics. And I've done another one on bones, which I found was really, really lovely to create something and then deliver it, and the feedback is really fantastic. People say, I was really unsure before I started feeding raw, and then I watched these lessons, and thank you for making it so bite size.
Easy.
And that's really, really gratifying. And so I'd love to do more of those. I'm currently doing one on beyond kibble. Now, a lot of people say, don't be negative about kibble, but I don't think I'm being negative. No. I'm just pointing out things that perhaps raw canine and Hills and Purina may not have presented, but are
Exciting.
factually part of the way they feed. So really, it's just saying, these are the pros.
Are there any
Not
cons?
many of
Ooh, that's a
those.
short
Not many of
section.
those.
Oh,
These
yeah.
are the pros, and these
Yeah.
these are the cons. These are the pros. These are the cons.
Mm.
Yeah, a bit like
It
Connor's Connor's book. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like how many pros did you find, Connor? How many pros did
I
you
thought
find
you were
for
gonna
raw
say-
food for kibble?
I wondered what he was
Ah,
going to say.
geez, nothing. I thought you were going to say the Lisa Freeman piece on the pros, on the benefits, and on the pros and cons of raw feeding by Lisa Freeman. Do you remember that piece? And I was like, oh,
2013.
yeah, let's see how many pros she finds. There's about
Yeah.
2 lines, and then it's all negative. What a surprise! The pros.
It'd be
and
like
cons.
saying about a burger and a salad, really, wouldn't it?
yeah, it's all about the burger. But anyway, yeah,
think
no, I
that's-
didn't find many pros about dry food, Nick. No, definitely not. Nothing,
Did you not?
nothing,
So you write
no.
an entire book, okay, about pros and cons of raw versus pros and cons of kibble, and there were very few pros of
Zero.
kibble.
The convenience
Oh,
of
isn't that
going down the
amazing?
shops.
I can't think
Yeah.
of one.
So, someone asked me a question there on the book. There's an ad for I leave a running on Facebook for the book, and somebody said, "Is this book biased towards fresh food?" And I went, "Biased towards fresh food? You can't win." It's like, well, it definitely does. That is the conclusion. I don't want to give the game away. Please buy it. But
What a
biased
question.
towards real food. What?
That's the sort of person that goes straight to the back of the book.
Yeah. This book
Reads
is-
the final chapter. Yes, you should feed raw.
Yeah, this book is too expensive. It's like, okay, the absolute size of it. But anyway,
The person in Waterstones that's going around reading all the last chapters of each book and then deciding whether they're not going to spend their money.
yeah, I know the answer now. We should do a Raw Pet Medics college, guys, and we should bring in all these people, the likes of Moddy and everybody else we love and respect in this business, and we could just do one mega big course, the Raw Pet Medics University, and that's what we should do and just dominate. That's what I think we should do. And so where do we get information from? We get it from Raw Pet Medics. To be honest, we already have the RFVS and they're already doing that, so maybe not. You don't want to compete against your own baby, Nick. But yeah, I do.
Well, I don't know. I think competition is very healthy. Competition is very healthy.
If you're on both sides of the tennis court, I mean, that doesn't make much sense, really, does it?
Running wildly round the net.
Yeah, stressing out. I do get what you're saying, though, Nick. It is very, very enjoyable thinking of a subject, putting it together as a little baby, be it a big, huge topic or like, one little thing, and just putting it out there going, it's done. There it is. And it's like click. And it is really, really rewarding. I imagine it's like creating anything. It's just like, I've just created that. I put that together. And I love doing that. Even if you're not going to be a millionaire doing it, but it's fun and it's nice to have your concise ideas there on view. So that's, I get that, Nick. That's what I want.
You might be a millionaire. You never know.
Yeah, I don't think you get rich in the dark arts. It's hard to be rich when you're operating.
Money's not everything.
Tent in the carnival. It's yeah. I think it's changing though. Look at the amount of people feeding real food now.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Gandalf did okay in the end.
He did, but he could just magic money in front of him. I mean, why would he ever be poor? I need a Mars bar. He doesn't even need to go to the shops.
Okay, guys, so I got one more question for you. You've got to have a highlight of 2022. Oh, chuck that one at you, didn't I? Know what mine is. That was Barcelona.
Go on then, Moddy.
Oh yeah.
It was being together with you lot after 4 years of not seeing anyone because of COVID in Barcelona, and being in a room, not like it has been over the years in Manchester and Bristol and London, but being in a room with a bunch of people who share the incredible passion we have for feeding fresh, raw, species appropriate, call it what you want to. But I think that was such a highlight. I think we've gone through such a horrendous stage of not, and these Zoom things have made it possible to be sane through COVID, haven't they? And I'd never have done this 2 years ago anyway. But no, that was, if I'm allowed to add on my own interview, my highlight was just a pretty top weekend
Yeah,
Oh,
see, now
so
it's
good.
really bad if we don't say the same, because that's just not on.
Yeah.
So, well, there we go. That's the end of the interview. We've said the
Yeah.
same. It's
What happens in
definitely
Barcelona?
Yeah.
It stays, yeah.
Stays.
Indeed. Yeah, we're not. No, let's not go there.
Don't even go there.
No, it was fantastic. Like that Barcelona trip was unbelievable. Fiona Murray, for example, who was on this, and just such a legend. And you meet her, and like I'd never met her before face to face, really.
Same.
And just you meet those, and then everyone. It is very therapeutic all getting together. And it was only 2 or 3 days. I could have done that for 2 weeks. It was just great crack. So yeah, I must say, now that I think about it, that was probably the best 2 days of that year. I do have to agree. Highlights. Does anybody? I can't think of a highlight now. I can't say the same thing. I'll have to think of something else.
Book sales for you, probably.
And don't forget, whilst Connor's
Yeah.
thinking of something else, guys, if you want to join us in 2023, it's going to be in West Yorkshire. It's closer to home for quite a few of you. Others can come and join us. There's a local airport. You'll be able to fly in if you need to, fly into a major hub, and then just get on a train.
And a gin hotel.
At a gin hotel. Well, that's just one of the evenings. I don't think it wasn't actually the venue.
We're coming to stay with you, Brendan, actually.
So yeah, look forward to that. I think that should be
November.
the highlight of 2023.
Yeah.
And they fry their fish and chips in dripping. Guys, that is for me the highlight. Absolutely.
Of next year's trip.
The chips.
So come on, has that given you enough time to think of something, Connor?
Let me see.
No.
Not really.
So while he's still
Book sales.
thinking, I really am sorry to say, but for all of you guys out in Canada, I must say my highlight of 2022 was going out to Canada. We were spending some time watching the bears wake up. Just, having some time in the wilderness is a marvelous thing. I think if nobody's done it, you should just take, don't get me wrong, didn't spend a lot of time in the wilderness because there was loads of other stuff that we did. But if you get an opportunity to just find a wild space somewhere and just be able to just absorb it, nothing beats that. Nothing beats
does
it.
sound nice, I have to say.
Found one of the islands. I disappeared off in Sonora Resort in the just north of Vancouver, and literally it had been raining for 2 days, and we'd gone out and seen wildlife and stuff like that. But I just took a morning to just cycle out and just find a really quiet spot. It was only when I returned that they said, by the way, there is a bear that's been seen locally. Were you safe? Did you take your bear bells? But but just being able to just sit and watch the eagles and just listen to the gentle patter of rain and just breathe in the forest air, just unbeatable. And I would just say, that was a real highlight for me.
Sounds nice. Oh, that's a tough one to follow.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to make something up.
Shall I jump in? Or Brady,
go on,
do you want to go in?
Make it up to you.
Okay, so here's a thought. I was going to say, working with these guys, I hate to say it because they take it to heart,
dinner,
and they
please.
get all mushy and they get all huggy, but I think working with these guys has been, it basically keeps me sane. And knowing that we've got to produce something and then we've got to read stuff and you've got to keep ahead of the game and what have you is very stimulating. So, boys, thank you very much for that.
You're frozen, Nick.
Or he's having a stroke.
We'll talk about him now.
Yeah, definitely. And we met Fiona Barcelona there, which was marvelous. And Sasha came along, and so it was great. And we had the nude beach. My office next to the nude beach was really quite spectacular. But
coincidence.
I was invited.
Spectacular nightlife.
All right. Yes. So I was invited to Istanbul to do a talk.
Wow.
Okay. And I just thought, okay, right, here we go. This is good. But actually they had about 50 of the top, the influential vets in one room listening to me dribble on for an entire day about renal disease, about cancer, about why I don't like kibble, about arthritis, about all these things, and it went down an absolute storm. And they were gracious, they were grateful, they were interested, and it was just a massively gratifying thing to do. And it was a tiny little holiday. I was in Istanbul for 48 hours. That's it. And 8 of those we were on my feet talking. But it was absolutely fantastic. So there you go. There's my
Brilliant.
professional highlight.
You can
How
combine.
did they find you?
Where?
No, yeah.
How? I've been in conversation with them. I was going to go just before COVID, but that COVID put the kibosh on that, and so this has been 3 years in the planning, and it was just absolutely cracking.
There's Turkey. I've worked with 2 raw dog food companies in Turkey. As Nick, you've probably done a couple as well. And it's like, I said, how many raw dog food companies in Turkey? She goes, I can list 10 here that would be proper companies. And then there's a lot of mom and pop kind of efforts. And I thought, wow, I don't know why I'm so surprised. It's not like you're ever going to hear what's happening in Turkey. And she goes, oh no, like we're massive dog lovers over here. And it's like, oh, bloody hell, and this is a whole untapped the size of Turkey, and you forget that. How many other countries is this ticking over? Because we're just talking in English all the time and we're in this little couple of islands here, and you just think this is where it's happening, but my God, it's kind of happening everywhere. So it's that's great to hear. If you combine Bren's story with the wilderness and Nick's story about being among the kind of top people over in Turkey, it kind of reminds you of Finland, Nick, doesn't it? When you go over to Finland, like that was wild, and then you're among these amazing heads. That was an amazing trip. As for me, highlights, look, it's personal highlights, I suppose. I thought the year had a bit of tragedy in it. There was 2 or 3 for me. And so it was a heavy old year. It was slow going. So that was tough. So any highlights to stick out? Honestly, I'm Irish, so I don't really like talking myself up about, but the one very, very positive thing I thought was a little kind of vote for the book. There's a thing called bookauthority.org, and it was like it was voted kind of top. And you have this massive pressure on myself that when you write the thing, you want your peers. I don't really to mind too much about anything too much after that, but you do want your peers to be impressed. I don't know, that's just I really wanted that for the book, so I put so much pressure on myself, so it took so long to do it. And then eventually you're waiting for something to happen. Like, is there ever going to be a moment where it's like, this is just, and then it was up the top of that list, and I thought that was great, because then I could kind of hold that up to my mum and go, look at this, I'm on top of the list, this is good. It's number 1. It's the number 1. So if you type in the K9 nutrition book, it's up at number 1. And I thought, well, that's good, that went really well. That was the because I didn't really have that for the couple of years after the book. You get your few sales and stuff, so that was good. That was a personal highlight for me. If I think about anything else, I got my website sorted out, a new website. That was a real pain to get everything. And like I said, I got all my little 4 or 5 parts of that website ticking over. I also have Karen on board, which is probably the number 1 thing, the most positive thing that's happened this year, I'd say, was that balances nicely the losses is the gain, some new friends, and but Karen's just a powerful ally, and so Karen does everything for me, so she's fantastic. I don't know, just the first time ever, she might not be listening.
No, she messaged me earlier saying she had to go to a carol concert, and she was really gutted that she couldn't be here. Otherwise, there'd be about 16 million comments.
So anyway, so Karen's was
top lady.
And also there's Poppy Phillips as well. I was doing a bit. I did the Pet Expo just recently with Poppy Phillips. There's another lady over in America. It's just a powerhouse, and I had this bit of an idea. I said it to Poppy. I don't think I said it properly. I think it was in a pub, and then like the next day, Poppy goes, "Did you mean?" And then she said her idea was way better. And I went, "Oh yeah, that is what I meant." And then like 2 weeks later, she got it going. So Poppy is like an American Karen, and it's just awesome to have these people in your life, because I'm scatty and I'll get these ideas. And if you didn't have like Nick and Bren for RPM, it never would have happened with me. I wouldn't. That's not where I'm strong. And same with Poppy and Karen stuff. So it's great to have them live. So a little bit of sadness, I think, throughout. Patricia Gethin and a couple of other people on my side, but then balanced with meeting these awesome people. So I guess that's life. So on to 2023. I'm feeling very confident and kind of grounded at the moment, and I feel like we are at the bit of a hockey stick effect. That's what I think it is. So onwards, I feel, for sure.
Brilliant, guys. Well, that's fantastic. Brilliant. Well, I guess we shall look forward to the Christmas edition of RPM. Is it next week or the week after?
The day I come back from a little break. Oh,
after.
Oh,
Yeah, 21st.
Yeah.
We're saying, guys. Yeah,
21st of that's a Wednesday or something, isn't it? I think. Yeah.
that'd be ideal.
21st, Tuesday, I think.
Sorry, Tuesday. Of course, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
How can I forget
Yeah.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah,
PM day.
I'm back very late on the 20th into the 21st, so I can't wait to travel.
Well, I think your 17,000 people watching are going to quite enjoy that because it was quite funny last year.
It was great.
You
last
might be
year.
wearing t-shirts.
Oh yeah, I've got to get some of those t-shirts.
Have you not
Order
ordered
your
them yet?
t-shirts,
Well
boys.
done.
Order your t-shirts, please.
I've ordered. Come on, get your
Well
t-shirts.
done. Well done.
Get your t-shirt on.
Yeah,
Right.
get your t-shirts on. The opposite
take
of what
them
you
off.
hear on these horrible holidays.
T-shirts and wigs.
Yeah, t-shirts and
And
wigs.
wine.
I can't wear wigs. I don't like wigs. Wigs make me head itchy. I don't like that. You love a little wig, Molly, don't you?
I do.
How many wigs have you got in the house?
Oh, about 10.
Are you serious?
Well, Brendan wore the second-hand car dealers one.
He did.
We've got we've got
We'll resurrect those photographs maybe at Christmas time. There's been a few doozies through the year that maybe we
Well,
can
I've got
just.
something
Is
bad.
that
on all
right?
these
Yeah,
things.
there has, hasn't there, Connor?
Oh, okay. Forget it. Touche.
Photographic evidence of all of you. I'm worth a lot of money, I reckon.
Funny stuff.
On that note,
On that note, yeah.
Yeah.
Better off, Molly.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, no, listen, thank you. I know you're busy chaps, and it's been a joy. And thank you for spending the time. And hopefully, people can get something out of this.
Yes, absolutely.
So we will do it again another time.
Fantastic.
Looking
Thank you,
forward to
Molly.
it.
Just
Thanks for
thanks
the
very much
invite.
for having us, Molly. That was great.
Not
Love
at all. No, thank you lot, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Great stuff. I need to. Here's me waiting for Brendan to hit the button, but I'm in charge today.
I don't know
so
how
I'm
to
going to
end
hit the
this
button
thing, 'cause
now.
I'm not
So,
the
Molly, thank you very much.
Not
And
at all. We'll
boys,
speak soon, guys.
All the best.
Yeah, you too.